guy, and back for another episode. Told you it wouldn't be too long. Told you I wouldn't leave you hanging. Got you. All right, today we're going to talk about how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' quote-unquote war on woke is backfiring. We're also going to talk about these ex-Mississippi cops who some even refer to themselves as the GWUN squad. They recently pled guilty to a racist assault on two black men, including shooting one of them in the mouth. Lastly, man, I want to talk about Hiphop 50. And I'm not really going to get caught up in who didn't get recognized, who didn't, who didn't get recognized enough, credit, or whatever. I just think the media is being dishonest. The mainstream media, what I mean, is being dishonest in their coverage of it without talking about how they were reluctant, and that's, putting it lightly, to cover hip hop in the past. So we'll get to that, but let's start with our favorite governor, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So, we have this war on woke, and has all of these things going on in regards to rewriting the school curriculum to reflect a different depiction of slavery. Basically, has outlawed any type of African American studies courses. What else has he done? And, basically has decided to sanction anyone in the state who does something that he disagrees with, whether it's the state attorneys, the county DAs that he suspended. I think it's two of them now, or whether it's his war with Disney, whether it's his migrant law that's backfiring on him. So let's peel back some of the layers of this Ron DeSantis thing. So let's start with the education part. So while he's trying to rewrite history, um, stop some things from being taught, and have other things, even though they're not true, being taught, Florida has one of the highest illiterate students in Florida, have one of the highest illiteracy rates in the country. All right, so instead of concentrating on what matters, he goes to what he thinks is politically sexy, or what have you. We also have reports that hundreds of conventions have pulled out of the state because of his war on the the gay and lesbian community. Excuse me, I can't get with all those. Not can't get with all those letters. I'm gonna stumble saying all those letters, so that's why I just shortened it or whatever. Also, his war with Disney has backfired, as he has even publicly said, "Hey, let's just let it go or whatever." Disney's like, "Nah, you started this. Now we're gonna see it through. We're not dropping anything or whatever. You came after us for no reason other than to score political points in regards to him running for president. To do that to the number one state employer in the state of Florida, um, that's just mind-boggling to me. His policies, once again, talking about the conventions that have canceled or pulled out. Different construction projects have also been affected, as well as um, agriculture and the food and beverage industry because of the migrant law. And this is where I wish America was more honest about the accepted illegal business that makes this country go round. Because if he's saying that like every Florida citizen should have proper paperwork or whatever, and a bunch of them are leaving, we can draw a fair conclusion and not be wrong. But nobody says anything because we need people out in the field, um, harvesting the produce, different stuff like that, or whatever. And it's not about um, Americans being better than these people. It's they come from climates in which they're able to be out in the sun, withstand the heat longer than those even born in Florida. You know what I'm saying? So, and they come in and they do these jobs or whatever. So I just wish we'd be honest about the nod, nod, wink, wink um, things we do to make this country go round. But with that being said, um, he's not just pissing off progressives, the left. He's pissing off his own GOP in the state of Florida because business owners are contacting them, talking about how they're losing employees, um, nobody's coming to work. I had to put this project on hold because I didn't have enough people. That's the story up and down Florida because so many people are scared of being locked up in regards to Ron DeSantis' law. Um, some listening is like, well, only legal should be working. I mean, that sounds good in theory, but if you did an audit of restaurants, um, warehouses, any type of like farm, ranches, or anything like that, I guarantee you'd be surprised at the number of people that are working every day on payroll or whatever and don't have the proper documents and paperwork to work legally in this country. But it's just what it is, and it's understood. It just happens, and no one says anything. But now with that new law and it being exposed because it's adversely affecting the entire state economy or whatever. So now it's people that are basically saying the loud part out loud, "Hey, governor, you're scaring away our illegal workers," or whatever. And they're not saying it in that form, but that's exactly what the sentiment is. So, like I said, and not to even point out that he's using state money for his travel expenses when he travels around the country campaigning for president. He's also using state funds to fight his lawsuit against Disney or whatever. So he knows that he can't do both, and that's the biggest reason that he's pulled back from that lawsuit. Besides the fact that he can't win or whatever, you know, it's easy to say, "Hey, let's just pretend it didn't happen." I'm glad that Disney's like, "Nah, we not even for that. We gonna see this play out, and wherever it ends, it ends." So once again, man, keep an eye on Florida, Florida's economy, and what Florida Republicans are starting to say in regards to their governor, because it's not all good in the hood, as they like to say. All right, go to Mississippi, man. So there was some ex-Mississippi cops. Five, I believe, are former Rankin County officers. Um, Brett um, McAlpin, Hunter Edward, Christian Dedman, Jeff Middleton, and uh, David. It's a shame when you can't understand your own handwriting, but it appears to be Opdyke. Davis Opdyke is the last officer. And then you have one off-duty officer from the city of Richland, Mississippi, Joshua Hartfield. Now, do you know how bad a crime you had to have committed that in the state of Mississippi, that as soon as you show up to court to plead, like before anything is even decided, they basically tell you like run all that police stuff and get with these handcuffs or whatever. I mean, they abused two black men, like sex toys on them. They shot one in the mouth. Um, they made statements like, um, stay on your side of the Pearl River, basically telling them to go back to Jackson. Um, a lot of white people that were living within the Jackson city limits has made an exodus to the neighboring counties, at, as a way to get away from the black folks or whatever. So here are police officers that are supposed to are sworn to protect and serve. Damn, and instead, basically telling these guys they don't belong. Now, mind you, the the whole raid was started because a neighbor said that it was two black guys living with a white woman. Now, the white woman I found happened to be a childhood friend of one of the victims. I guess was doing a solid or whatever their relationship was. It didn't matter. Like it's her crib and she can stay there. Um, who she wanted, and for that type of call to initiate a raid of that woman's home, and then for those men to be abused the way they were, one abused so bad, and where are the victims' names? Mike Corey and Ed Parker. Um, was abused so bad that he still even has problems speaking. So this crime was so bad that people covering the case talked about how it reminded them of 1964 when those election workers were, basically illegally arrested and handed over to the Klan to basically be tortured and killed. Um, and you understand how bad this attack must have been, even though these guys lived, that that's the memory that is brought up when when people think about what happened here. And this like, and I'm about to say some things, and it doesn't make the things I'm talking about right. But this wasn't like traffic stop, taking identity. This wasn't um, an actual fit the description situation. This wasn't a case of um, it appeared that you had committed a crime, got out of hand, anything like that. This was simply a situation where a white woman, a white neighbor, didn't like the fact that it was black guys in the neighborhood. Basically, it was like I moved out of Jackson, um, away from you people, into Rankin County to get away from you people. I don't want to see you. Yes, I will call the police. And then for them to act the way that they did just lets you know, no matter what position the Rankin County police are taking today in regards to saying how justice has been served and this, that, and the other. This is more of a cultural and departmental thing. And this wasn't just five bad apples plus one bad apple from a neighboring jurisdiction. So I hope that Justice Department is going to do more to investigate the actual department and don't just stop at the prosecution of these guys. Like I said, I'm glad that they've been found guilty. They're in custody. They're pretty much all facing, damn near life prison. If not, they'll be in their 80s, 70s, late 70s and 80s, when they get out, according to the sentencing guidelines. They also are going to face federal civil rights charges as well. So, um, glad that justice was served. And like I keep saying, um, we can't allow the right to attack the DOJ, and we can't allow someone to get elected that is basically saying that they will weaponize the DOJ, because in a lot of cases, it's the only thing, um, the only semblance of justice that black people have in this country. So that's just going back, touching on something that I talked about on the last podcast. So once again, these are Rankin County officers, Brett McAlpin, damn, Hunter Edward, Christian Deadman, Jeff Middleton, and Davis Updike. And there was an off-duty officer from Richland, the city of Richland, Mississippi, Joshua Hartfield, that was also part of this heinous, um, you know, attack, assault, abuse of power, um, and we could come up with so many other things to describe it. But the fact that at any time that this can happen is crazy, but to happen in 2023 is a little disturbing, to say the least. Um, and like, oh, and that's Daniel Opdyke. I wanted to try to make sure I got that name right. So I was saying Davis is Daniel Opdyke, that Rankin County police officer Um, and once again, the victims are Ed Parker, um, Mike Corey. um, like I said before, man, please stay issue educated and issue active. And what I mean by that is be cognizant of what's going on in your locality, your county, as well as your state. There are powers that are working every day to hijack state government to the point that it doesn't matter what type of federal laws are passed. They're going to have such a stronghold on the state house that they can pretty much pass any non-federal law that they choose to, because they have super majority, um, in different states or whatever. Tennessee being um, an example of that, or what have you, man, where saw what happened there recently with them expelling those state legislatures, to where they had to go through the whole process of being reappointed, all that kind of stuff, and they knew that probably was going to happen, but it was just like, yo, we just want to show you, you get out of line, and we're going to show you what time it is. So I'm just imploring everyone within the sound of my voice, please pay attention to things going on in your state. Please pay attention to the actions of the local police department, whether it affected you or your family or not. I'm not telling you go out in the streets and march, protest, or whatever, but when you do catch wind of things that don't jive with what a police officer should do, you should make your voice known and let them know that, hey, although you support, law enforcement and all the work they do at, their attempts of keeping your municipality, your city safe, they have to do it in a way where they aren't breaking the law in order to uphold the law. And I don't think that that's an anti-law enforcement stance. I just believe that you're holding your law enforcement to a certain standard, definitely a standard that these officers didn't exemplify at all. Um, Actually, in them saying that they refer to themselves as the GWUN Squad, that just lets you know that they was, although they had guns and badges, the ability to arrest people, um, their heart and their actions was at the total opposite of the spectrum in which they supposed to be at, whatever, man. So, like I said, score one for the good guys, man. There is a $400 million lawsuit that currently being filed against Rankin County by the families of these gentlemen. So we'll follow up on that story, and we'll let you know how that plays out. So recently and still now, there's a lot of hip hop 50 celebrations going on, and I love it. I love people describing what hip hop means to them, like how they first fell in love with hip hop, all this kind of stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it. But when I'm watching like mainstream news, local news, but mainstream news, and they're like leading their show off with it or whatever, and especially in New York, to not talk about Calvin Butts and his war against the police. Rest in peace, Reverend Butts. to not talk about the fact that the NYPD had a squad called the Hip-Hop Cop, to not talk about how radio wouldn't play it before 10 o'clock if the station played it at all. Um, Nothing about C. Dolores Tucker, rest in peace to her as well. Um, and her war against Time Warner because of Death Row Records, her attempted takeover of that label. Um, Bill Cosby and his different rants in regards to the music and the culture, and instead of getting people together and having a discussion like men, he just found friendly audiences and got on his soapbox and talked a bunch of stuff. I ain't got nothing to say about all other stuff that he's dealing with or has dealt with. That you know that's on him. That's between him, God, and the alleged victims. But in regards to this whole hip hop 50 thing, I'm tying them in because I just remember, I was out in Milwaukee when he did that whole thing or whatever. We were talking about it, and we were having a debate about it in the office, and like people agreeing with him, and I'm like, yo, even if you agree with him, like, was that the delivery that's going to unify and bring young men together to say, hey, maybe the content of my music is destructive, or maybe I should um, turn it down a little bit. Maybe I should curse less, use the B word less, N word less, whatever. But instead, it was, oh, y'all just a bunch of fools jumping up and down and blah, 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 blah. And that created um, the disconnect. So I'm not saying that these outlets um, shouldn't have, um, you know, done that. And we could go on. We could talk about different brands. We could talk about executive at Timberland coming out and basically saying, we don't care how popular our boots are with the hip hop community. They boots weren't meant for them to wear. It was meant for people. Oh, his quote was, "It wasn't meant for people to hang out on street corners um, and look fly and fashionable. It was people that were more outdoors oriented and for hiking and hunting and things like that, or whatever was kind of loosely what his quote was in the New York Times. Um, and there's other examples. So to see all these celebrations and commemorations, and like I said, especially locally, and to not bring up, once again, a former New York pastor, or not bring up, hip hop cop or whatever, and just to make it seem like, hip hop started in this room in the Bronx. We fell in love with it. It's been a staple of our city ever since. No, it hasn't. A lot of the people that y'all giving, um, that y'all name streets after, know, up until the day they died, they were probably being investigated. I know Biggie was. So, I'm glad that a culture, a music, a movement that is so much a part of my life is being celebrated on such a huge international scale, and so many of the major networks are taking time to um, to commemorate it. Good Morning America, had Fat Joe, Remy Ma. Forgot who else was part of that show, but perform and Good Morning America, whatever. That's big, and I love all of that, and I don't have any problems with that whatsoever. I'm not getting caught up once again in who was recognized, who was omitted, because every icon or legend doesn't mean the same to everybody. Um, you know, there's so many people that were, iconic, for, whatever their run was, whatever happened with their career. They, since they passed or even before they passed, they weren't talked about that much. So now they're not really being talked about that much. Here I use Heavy D as a big example. Like Hev had a hell of a run, you know, a hell of a run. Did his thing. A lot of stuff. Like he should be given credit for like starting that whole Westchester, movement, where you got Yonkers right next door, and brought out the Mary J's, uh, DMX's, and the Locks, and all of that or whatever. So, it's so many different stories um, that probably won't be told other than locally or small publications by people that probably won't have a lot of eyes on what they had to say. That's just part of it. It happens in sports. It happens in all different walks of life. No matter how much people are claimed to be objective or whatever, something like this is super super subjective, and people writing these articles and doing these specials or whatever, they're gonna talk about you know what's important to them or what affected them in regards to um, this 50 years or however many years they've been alive and how hip hop has affected them. But I just wish um, the coverage just talked about um, the pushback that it got um, for years before businesses started to really cut checks. Like, look at how long it took Adidas to cut the check with, Run DMC. know, so go on and on. But that is my time. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Um, don't forget to support the other podcasts on this great network, Life and Love, Talking with E, Black Male Podcast, as well as the Encourage Inspire Podcast. You're tuned in to Politrick. I'm your host, Sky. See you next time.